Welcome back to Hey Kentucky. Last week I sat down with the state's new lieutenant governor about the Beshear administration's agenda for the 2020 legislative session. But tonight, in part 2 of our interview, Jacqueline Coleman shares her unique personal story. So you have a daughter.
I do.
Playing college basketball. Talk about that for me. Talk about Emma.
So Emma came to play for me when she was a freshman in high school. And it's a long story because she's a senior in college now. But basically she didn't have anywhere to go. And so my husband and I, who's also a basketball coach, invited her into our home, and she became part of our family. And unofficially, for the last 7 years, we were her parents and she was our child. And we went through a lot of ups and downs, as you can imagine. Emma's life was not an easy one. She bounced from house to house, and that grit and that resilience that you see her demonstrate on the floor came from a real place. And so I will tell you that when she was a freshman in high school, she couldn't read. And so the challenges that we were up against to get her from her freshman year to her senior year to see if she would have the ability to play in college was a huge struggle. But she was willing to do the work. And so we went from having a student who couldn't read as a freshman in high school to a student that graduated with honors. Was the first person in her biological family to do so, and she tripled her GPA, she doubled her ACT score, and as a result got to sign a Division I basketball scholarship to play at Texas A&M at Corpus Christi. So she's a senior there now. She's graduating in May. She will enter the medical nursing field in hospitals, and she has been voted the most valuable player on her team, and she's a leader on her team right now. And to watch, talk about being able to watch kids evolve. That's an evolution that I just am amazed at every single day. And so we made it official on December 23rd this year when she was home for Christmas. We finalized an adult adoption, and so she now has our last name. So she went from Emma Young to Emma Coleman O'Brien.
What was her reaction when you talked about making it official? Was it her idea? Was it your idea? How did that?
Well, I mentioned it to her. I said, and I told her, this is not going to change anything between us. It just makes it official, right? Like whether we sign this paper or not, we'll still feel the same way about you and you about us. But I kind of felt like it would be great to give her a place and a home and a family that's official. And she was excited about it. And actually she surprised me. I didn't think she was going to change her last name. And I joked with her because she said, well, should I change my name? And I said, well, I didn't change mine when I got married. So, if you want to, you can, but you don't have to. And so she surprised me with that. And I thought that was really sweet because our baby girl who's coming in February, her name is Evelyn. And so they share the same initials now. So Emma thought that was really cool. So that's why she wanted to change her name.
That's awesome. Yeah. And as we know, in Kentucky, if you've got the hyphenated last name, you're bound to be a great basketball player, right?
Right, exactly, exactly.
It sounds a little bit like a God thing, a little bit to me, where she needed education and basketball to make it. Yeah. And those are kind of your two bedrocks.
Oh yeah, it was not a coincidence that she walked into my classroom and asked for a basketball schedule 8 years ago. It just wasn't. So I just, there were times that it was really, really tough for both of us, and to see her on the other side of that and growing into this amazing young woman who actually might have a chance to play professionally overseas when she graduates. It's just been a remarkable, I've been very grateful to have a front row seat to that.
There's a few women running for president. We had a female, and Hillary Clinton. We've got, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar. You're having a daughter. I mean, how important is it for you to be able to reflect onto your daughter that women can do the same thing that men can do in that realm?
From my lifetime to Emma's lifetime to Evelyn's lifetime, the political landscape has shifted dramatically. I mean, in my lifetime, we've only had one female governor in Kentucky, she was a teacher. By the time Emma got to vote in her first election, there was a female on the ballot as president. In the year that Evelyn will be born, we're going to celebrate 100 years of the right for women to vote, and we have multiple women and minorities running for president. And so the landscape has completely shifted. We still have a lot of work to do. But I have to say that to be able to raise two young women in an atmosphere like this is something I'm not sure I ever really imagined was possible. And so I take this position very seriously. There's never been a lieutenant governor who has campaigned pregnant or had a baby in office. And so I'm cognizant that there are lots of young women watching. And that's a lot of pressure, but it's also a good way for me to show them that they can do anything they want to do.
Kind of talk about what you're trying to mirror for young girls in that respect.
So I try to be very honest about it because, you know, a lot of my time as being pregnant has been spent in front of cameras and in front of large crowds of people. And so I had to be on my A game, and whatever I was feeling that day physically, I had to put aside because I had a job to do. But I was very honest about the tough days, right? I mean, there are days where some are better than others, and you go through some struggles physically, certainly, when you're pregnant. And I just want to make sure that young women understand that there is the visual that's out there, and then there's reality. And so while there were days that I had to work really hard to make it look like everything was fine, I was also very honest that some days were really hard, because I think it's not fair to create that standard that everything's perfect and this was so easy, because it's not at all. It's not at all. And I think the more that women hear that, the more they understand when something may feel difficult to them, this is normal. That's normal. It's all about overcoming. I mean, it's just like being an athlete, right, or a coach. It's all about overcoming those obstacles and trying to be better tomorrow than you were today, and understanding that some days may not go great, but just being very honest about it. I think these young girls need to hear those things.
She was so impressive. Thanks for joining us, Miss Jacqueline. All right, still ahead on Hey Kentucky, a game of Cringe Factor. We'll cover several more topics, including an unfortunate turn for a Boyle County football star who was on the verge of a promising college career. Don't go away.